machine here, and yeah, looks like it's trying to work. So hopefully this is working. If it's not, maybe somebody can yell at me and tell me I'm screwing up before I get too far into it. Let me look on my channel on my other machine and just make sure that I'm getting audio from the... Alright, yep, that's working. Just verifying. Okay, so it's Thanksgiving Day, and I've been out of town for a while, so I apologize for not making any content lately. I went hunting up in Michigan with my dad and my uncle. Didn't see any deer myself, but my dad got a doe, so it worked out all right. So it could have been worse. And then I got back, and I've just been kind of tired and not really feeling the urge to do a whole lot of anything. So I apologize again for that. But basically what I was going to do today is kind of go over with you guys how to make a deepfake. Like, I'm not an expert at it. There's people out there like Control Shift Face is the channel that I first kind of learned about the concept from. So that guy probably would really be able to even direct you better than I can. I do this on my own hardware. I know that you can, there are sites that you can use where you can basically rent PC hardware like on a server somewhere. Like, they'll virtualize or allocate you some processor resources and, you know, some GPU resources, and you pay like a monthly fee, and you can train models on a server somewhere, and then you just, once it's done, like you've finished processing it, I think maybe you download the file and then upload it to YouTube or however they do it. But I do it all on my own hardware, and so this is really kind of a hardware specific process. So the more powerful CPU and GPU you have, the better off you're going to be. And then it's pretty much done entirely with CUDA cores at the moment. It doesn't use tensor cores, at least not with the program Deepfacelab, which is what I use. I thought it used tensor cores for the longest time, and as it turns out, like I say, you can do it on any NVIDIA card really, but it's very memory intensive, GPU, like VRAM intensive. So the more video memory you have, the better. Really, just the more of everything you have, the better. Like, that's the best way I can put it for you, is that you want a boatload of system memory. Like, I've got 64 gigs, that seems to be more than enough, and 32 actually is pretty much enough too, because my second machine I've got with my older Titan RTX and that, and I've got 32 gigs of DDR4 in that, and it works fine. So I think 32 is probably sufficient, 64 just to be sure. Video memory, both my systems have GPUs with 24 gigs of video memory. That's good, but you can do more to go to higher resolution with the training. It just depends on you know, how long you're willing to wait, how high the settings you want to go. All these factors play in. So, you know, don't expect miracles. Even with like a 2080 Ti, like 11 gigs of video memory is kind of piddly for this process. Like, I was surprised, but like, that's what I was doing on mine initially with a 2080 Ti. And then if you try to mix and match GPUs, which I have tried, like I had my 2080 Ti and I had an RTX 2060 or my 2070 Super that I used to have. I think I had there with it. Well, first of all, one of those cards has 8 gigs, one has 11, so it dumbs down to just the one with the 8. Like, it can't load, you know, whatever into memory, you know, 11 gigs worth on an 8 gig card, so it only works with whatever the lower video memory amount is, I'm pretty sure. Just like back in the day, like when you used to be able to SLI like a 4 gig card with a 6 gig card, or a 3 with a 6, or whatever the hell it was, assuming you could do that, it would dumb it down to 3 gigs and act like both cards were 3 gigs. So try to bear that in mind. So my main machine has my Threadripper 3960X. That's a 24 core, 48 thread processor. I'm kind of on the fence as to whether or not like a faster core performance is better for this, or more cores is better for it, because it seems like some stages of the process you gain performance by having a higher IPC, which I believe stands for iterations per clock. But basically, like, you know, a higher core clock, higher core architecture speed, etc. So like maybe a 5950X from AMD would be better than my Threadripper for a lot of this, at least for some of the processes that need just faster core performance. But then it's like there's certain portions of it where it just uses all your cores, in which case having, you know, 48 threads is a benefit. So, you know, it's kind of hit or miss. And then the video card, like I say, the more CUDA cores you can get, the better on a single card. So far, it's been my experience. I know I said a minute ago that I did try using dual GPUs in the past, but it seems like lately that doesn't really work. It doesn't want to be able to... I don't have 2 identical cards, though. I would like to try that, but from what I read on some forums, that still doesn't work. So bear that in mind. Whatever the single fastest card is you can get, which right now I would, if you can, get a 3090 because it has the most video memory on a single card that you're going to get on a mainstream card, unless you go to like a, oh, they have like the RTX Titan, or not the RTX Titan, RTX Quadro 8000. It has 48 gigs of GDDR6. You could get an Ampere 100, like A100, which is like they stopped calling them Quadros, but it's like an RTX A100 that has 40 gigs of HBM2. But really, more memory is important, but also like just for the speed of the processing of the actual training of the AI model is all about the CUDA cores, and you've got like almost 11,000 CUDA cores on an RTX 3090. That's way more than any other card. So 3090 if you can get it. 3080 I would not really recommend, even though they have a similar amount of CUDA cores, because the memory amount is so small. 10 gigs is no. I mean, you can do it, sure, but your settings will be much lower, and you won't be able to crank the resolution up, or it'll take a lot longer to train because you're still limiting yourself by the memory. So, like I said, my Titan has 24 gigs, but it has way less CUDA cores. It's got, like, I think less than 5,000 CUDA cores versus, like I said, almost 11,000 on 3090. And Ampere, of course, is a faster architecture than Turing was. So, just getting these things out of the way before I start going into the process. Hardware is very important for this, or like I said, you might try this. Like I said, I think it's called paper space that I've seen a lot of these people using, where you're really renting an allocation of hardware from a company, and then you can use that to do whatever it is you want to do. So look into that if you're interested. That's not what I do. I don't know how that process works 100%, so I'm not going to go into it any further than that. But just to start here, I've got a few pages pulled up. So this here is the link to the folder that contains the various builds provided by the software developer who created Deepfacelab. I won't mention his name because for some reason it seems like he's kind of, I don't want to say reclusive, but like he doesn't like to be bothered. So whatever. But this is the link to his folder on Mega NZ, where these are publicly available. It's an open source project, so you can come here and you can get the various builds he's produced. This is the latest build he put out that's supposed to work with the RTX 3000. It doesn't. And he hasn't done anything with it since November the 3rd, so it's been close to a month since he's put out a new version. I mean, it kind of works, but it's buggy and there's a lot of errors that it throws. Like I've been dealing with people on the forum, GitHub forum, for since the Ampere cards came out, a lot of people couldn't get anything to work because there wasn't a version that worked with Ampere. They only worked with Turing cards. This is the previous version, so if you have a 20 series card, or like in my RTX Titan, which is still just like a 2080 Ti but on steroids, this is the version you'd want to use right here from 8.2. Excuse me. That version, pretty good, stable, everything seemed to work. I didn't ever have any problems really until Ampere came out, and I jumped on that bandwagon thinking I'd be able to, go balls to the walls with training my models, and it's been kind of a, excuse me again, it's been a bit of a headache. I eventually, I'm not going to take too much credit here, but I got it to work with Ampere cards. Now granted, I didn't do any of the programming, so I'm not going to take too much credit, but just through luck and screwing around with it, I took some of the files. Like there was a version in here that he uploaded, I think it was on 927, which he then took back down, where Ampere had just come out recently, and he was trying to get it working, and he put out a quick little version update thinking that that would solve it, I guess, and it didn't work really at all. So he took it back down. But I was able to download it before he took it back down, and then using some of the DLL files that were provided in that version, I fiddled around with this version and got it to work with Ampere. So that you can download here. I have my own folder that I created on mega.mz, or nz, excuse me. This is, here we go, hold on. So I have this folder here. I uploaded a Deepfacelab RTX 3000 test version, but it is compatible, it works. Everybody that's tried it has got it to work on the GitHub site. So it's functional. Basically all you do is download this, and then you also have to install, this is CUDNN, which is like CUDA Deep Neural Network Library from NVIDIA, and you have to install CUDA Toolkit 11.1, or whatever the latest version is, probably will still work. But you have to have these installed on your main PC. You download this, and then you can use the folders and batch files and everything that I'll be going through here in a minute. What things do what. But basically, this version, if you have an RTX 3000 series card a la Ampere, this version if you have a Turing card. I don't know about the previous generations of cards. I haven't tried anything older than Turing. I did buy a Tesla Kepler card that I tried to screw with, but because they're passively cooled, it got so hot that I couldn't use it. I need to devise a way to cool that card and see if that works, because those cards have a lot of memory, even though they're older and they're cheap. You can get them on eBay for like 150 bucks for a dual GPU 24 gig Kepler card. You know, I think it was the KG 80, I think is what it was, or K80. I think it's really 12 and 12 gigs, like 12 gigs of memory per GPU, but whatever. It's a lot of memory for a cheap card. So if you wanted to go cheap and still have a fairly good option for this, it ran this successfully. So older versions of cards like Kepler, maybe Maxwell, whatever, sure, would probably work fine with this as well. Anyways, Ampere, you want this version that I've got here. I'll provide links to these in the video, I guess, if anybody's interesting. Oh, Matt is in the chat. You didn't miss out, Matt. I just saw your message if you're still watching. I got 4 people watching. Holy shit. I've never had 4 people watching a live stream. Outstanding. Okay, so we've gone through the basic steps. Like I said, this is the versions you're going to need. Next thing up, you'll download and you'll extract this out, and you'll end up with any of these are some of the versions I've been working on, or some of the models I've been training, I should say. I've got multiple drives on here. I've got I've got like the one for I'm working on for like the movie Taken, where he's on the phone and he's talking to the guys that kidnapped his daughter, and he's like, "I'll find you and I'll kill you." Everything I'm doing is pretty much Arnold Schwarzenegger stuff right now, and the reason for that is once you train up like an initial model, it's pretty easy to reuse that model for another video. Like at least like the source character. So my source character, of course, is Arnold Schwarzenegger. But if you want to start a different character, you have to start all over again and retrain the model from scratch, which is a long process. Like I mean, I've had this one going for like months. Well, maybe not quite that long, I guess. I mean, I'll say a couple weeks. It's been training, and it's getting decent, like pretty good. But it could definitely use a lot more. So they take a long time. But I've got a few in here, like I did that one for Adam Sandler. You guys probably watched. I've gone back over that with, excuse me, the more recently trained model that I've done. See, that's the cool thing. I can import it back into my previous videos, and it will still work. All I have to really do is just overwrite like one file, or like a small set of files with the newer, updated, trained model, and it will adapt like that. So, very cool. All right, so what are we doing here? Let's look at the file layout here. So this is currently I'm doing one from The Matrix with Agent Smith, and he's converting other people, of course, into Agent Smith. From anybody who's seen the Matrix series, I don't think I'm giving away any spoilers at this point, but from the second movie, when he goes around, he starts infecting other agents, and then he converts the, what's her name, the Oracle. He turns her into another Agent Smith so he can gain her powers. I'm doing like a section of that movie where like it shows a couple of those things where it's morphing people's faces, and so this is the latest one that's most trained that I have. So this is like the internal file folder. So the internal folder contains a bunch of Python code. Like I said, pretty much everything you're pulling down is Python related, and so like any kind of updates that are done to, they have what's called TensorFlow, which is apparently, again, a portion of Python code that controls this deep learning process. I'm not technically savvy enough on how a lot of this stuff works to explain to you guys all the nuances of what code is doing what, so I apologize for that. If you have questions, you can ask them in the comment section. I might be able to get you answers, but for the most part, I'm like an advanced end user of this software. I don't know how a lot of it actually, like the code works, so bear that in mind. Some things that'll also help you, in fact, pretty much required to do deepfakes, would be like I have Adobe Premiere Pro down here, so you're going to need something to edit video with, and something to play the video back with so you can watch it, which pretty much everybody has, but just bear that in mind. Like I have Power DVD 20, VLC player is fine, but something so you can watch what you've done and see if you like the results. So, alright, what is the next thing? So you've got like a workspace area where you retain like your source material, your destination video material. This is like where it stores the model, and then you import some videos that you want to screw with and get your source material and your destination material from. Other programs I was going to say real quick that are useful, I have Topaz Labs Gigapixel AI, so if I have, like if I get some faces or images I want to use, but the quality is kind of crappy, you can upscale it using AI with this program, and it's to varying degrees of success. I also have I have like a demo version of their Sharpen AI, which is pretty good as well. I think my time limit on that is probably about up. I would actually recommend that almost over the gigapixel, because you can use one of the batch files that are provided with Deepfacelab to change the size of the image, and then you could sharpen it with this. So, and this is actually cheaper. I think it's like 79 bucks for that software. This is like $100, I think. So just keep that in mind if you wanted to improve the quality of some of your images, because depending on the source footage you use or whatever, maybe it's not going to be so great. You know, maybe you find an older movie. Like I tried to do stuff with the Holy Grail, and that didn't go well because it was really poor quality. But if you have yeah, it's not on GitHub, Matt. It's on, like I say, it's on that mega.nz drive. I can get you the link later, dude. I'll put it like in the description under the video when I'm done. They're pretty good sized files. It'll take a while to download that stuff. There's several gigs. I don't know if I could do that now or not, but if you don't mind waiting, I'll upload it here a little bit later, man. Or I'll just provide a link, because like I said, they're already on these folders. But yeah, they're not on GitHub. That's just where I talk to people about how to get it to work. So, anyways, yeah, Deepfacelab software is pretty cool. I like it. It's pretty easy to use, and it will leverage your GPU again. So if you have like a 3090 or something nice like that, again, you can leverage the GPU to more quickly process through your images. It does a pretty good job. So those are, like to say, the two folders that are in here, and then you have all these batch files. Some of them I've never used, so I'm not going to try to explain what things do that don't seem to really apply to what I'm doing. Oh, another quick blurb. AMD, you can, I guess, sort of do like some of the older versions on here. I think he had a version that worked with AMD at some point, but I think it's pretty much long since gone on to CUDA cores, so that's just another little note. Anyways, alright, so like the first thing that you would do is, let's say that you wanted, again, I'll go back in here and show you, like, so you have two different ones. You're going to name one of them data_DST, and the other one will be _DS, I'm sorry, the other one will be data_SRC, so destination or source. I don't have one in here right now because I've had so many Arnold Schwarzenegger images that I've put together. Look at that folder. It's almost 18 gigs of images of Arnold. Now some of those I'm using, some of them I'm not. Like I archived some of them that I didn't really like so much. Like the only ones that it actually cares about are in the aligned folder. The rest of these are all just various pictures I found of Arnold from like old interviews and stuff he did on YouTube that I thought would be useful. And some of them were okay for a while, but they're kind of low res. One thing you'll find is like how clear their teeth look is important, because later on they'll have a really blurry mouth whenever they talk too fast or like do things like open it too wide. You want like really good teeth. So like finding ones with really older footage like that. And Arnold, most of the stuff he did is getting kind of old now, but you can at least find fairly good quality of like I found Terminator 2 was a good set of, especially like more recent ones, like they've redone it in 4K, and you can find footage of that on YouTube. I use OBS or Shadowplay to screen capture videos from that, and then I use Premiere Pro to edit it down. But the final output file that you create for your source images, you'll put in this folder here, your workspace folder, and you'll do the same thing again with it, whatever your destination video is. So in this case, my destination video is from The Matrix. I'll just kind of show you guys what the destination stuff looks like. I don't know if this is going to get me copyright struck. Maybe I'll mute it here real quick so we're not getting too crazy. Maybe. I guess it doesn't matter. I don't have none of this ever, the copyright strikes are just demonetization, and my channel's not monetized anyway, so none of this matters. But anyways, you can see basically I just I've got a little video I did here. It's like you see, okay, he turns into, or the woman turns into the regular agent, and then Smith shows up, and he's gonna jab his hand to the dude's chest, and he's gonna get all converted and turn into another Agent Smith. And then there's the second portion of the video I did. This is like, I'm gonna have to edit this down. I kind of know what I should have done here. Like you see, there's so many Smiths, and I wanted them all to be Arnold. What you pretty much have to do is redo this whole process, like for each guy, as opposed to trying to do it all at once. It can detect everybody in here and try to put a mask on every one of them, but it doesn't do an amazing job. It's like it'll have, for one thing, like these people in the background, it's hard, like it has a hard time detecting them. The face is obscure. They're all wearing glasses. The lighting isn't amazing, isn't good in the background there, so that's not so great. And then like they're all moving around and things like that, and it'll miss periodically if you try to do it automatically. Like if you tell it, automatically find the faces, it will struggle to do that because there's too many of them. They're moving too fast. Even on one, it can screw up. So like if you're trying to do a bunch like this, it really doesn't do a good job, and it will you'll get garbled outputs, and then it's like you have to go back and manually fix it, and the manual fix only lets you pick one face. So that's basically, you have to do one at a time. So what you would end up having to do is like do a deep fake of this one right here, process that, spit an output out, start again, start with the next guy, next guy, next guy. It really wouldn't take that long. It might sound convoluted or whatever, but once you're, again, my Arnold model is pretty well trained. It's at like 370,000 iterations at a fairly high resolution. They say like you want to go to like 1,000,000 iterations. I found like there's kind of a law of diminishing returns, so you know it gets better or worse as you go on. But anyways, so you'd want to do one at a time, but like I said, your Arnold model is already trained, so as soon as you did that one, you could go on to the next one. It would work pretty much immediately once you go through the process, which would probably take you maybe, I don't know, half an hour or something like that. Do the next one, do the next one, you're done. So like if I wanted to make this really good, I could do it that way. Then it just becomes whether or not you're too lazy to, you know, accomplish that many steps. But you can kind of see here, like another problem I've noticed too was it's like when the face is really close to the screen like this, it seems like the mask doesn't do a great job of covering it all up, or it's like you can kind of see through it. Like you'll notice imperfections a lot more. So if you want to make a deep fake that's fairly convincing, it's almost like I say, it's almost always better if they're kind of like this range here, or a little bit closer or something like that, but not like right up in the screen like that, because then you can see all the imperfections in the skin and whatnot, and unless your model is like ultra trained and ultra sharp, it's like it's kind of obvious that it's not real. It's like it looks like it's wearing a mask. Like especially, I'll go back here and show you what I'm talking about again. I'll try to find a better scene. Well, like here, for example, like you can see his neck, you can see kind of like he's got like a little bit of a double chin going on there, and his skin, and you got like little pock marks and everything and wrinkles that everybody has. But let's say your mask started around here, like from this point down, it's going to be obvious it's not the same person. It's like this will kind of be smooth. You won't have, I mean, you'll get wrinkles to some degree, like laugh lines and so forth, but and maybe again, I'll just need to train it more. Like maybe I haven't been doing it long enough. Maybe I really need to hit that 1,000,000 training iterations. I don't know. But this down here will obviously look different than up here. It doesn't look convincing. Like there's another part here I can show you that's even a better example. Maybe. Yeah, like, okay, hold on, go back. So like here, I mean, it'll be obviously kind of smooth looking and not as detailed as this. And then you get down here and you can see like the skin, like he's got, you know, some probably acne or something on his neck or whatever the hell. And it just looks different enough that it's not ultra convincing. It just seems like if it's a little further away, you can get away with a lot more. So that's just a little bit of advice on that. So, all right, what do? Like I say, you make, where am I at? Dang it. Sorry. So you make whatever source material you want, again of Arnold Schwarzenegger or something, and you take and put that file in here and you name it data_source. Then you come back in here and you use, there's a little batch file that says extract images from data video. That's the destination. I need to find the source one. Why am I having a hard time? Like they're so freaking tiny. That's face set. Okay, here it is. Extract images from video data_source. So you run this little batch file, and I don't have one in there, so it's telling me, you know, hey, what are you talking about? But I always use the setting called whole face. I'm going to try to find one here where I can actually do this, or maybe I'll just take one from a different drive, and we can just use a demo. I'm not actually going to let it run because it'll overwrite, but we'll just take a demo here. So like these are things I've taken out of OBS. Like I've got one I'm going to do for the Highlander eventually, which I think will be funny. But I'll paste that in here, and I'll name that data_source, and then I'll go back and run my batch file to extract the images from source. So it's going to ask me what frame rate I want. 0 just means all the frames. So you'd hit enter. It'll ask you what GPU you want to use. Like I'll hit that. Okay, so it says, you know, you want to get PNG or JPEG. I've usually just leave it at PNG. Oh, shoot. Stop. I don't want to ruin this. I hope I didn't just kill something. That'd be a real bummer, wouldn't it? I wonder if it tried to put, maybe it didn't get far enough. I didn't think it was going to jump right in like that. I thought there was like another step in there, so my apologies. Okay, it doesn't look like it hurt anything. But this is the folder where all those end up at. So like it would have extracted every frame of video out of that source. So again, like I've got Highlander here, another video that can probably be copyrighted. Rest in peace, Mr. Connery. But anyways, it'll take every frame of video out of this, and it will place it in the data destination, or well, I guess it's the source. Sorry. Hope I didn't screw anything up. Oh my God, it did do that, dude. Look at that. It started to extract from that. That's alright. I've got that backed up about 1 billion times, and it didn't hurt my alignment folder, so it doesn't matter. The aligned ones are the ones that matter. But like I goofed up. In a couple seconds, it had already extracted out like 25 images from the Highlander. So, okay. Be careful when doing that then, because it'll start overwriting whatever's in that folder. Again, no big deal. I've got this backed up about 1,000 times in other folders. So anyways, so what we got? So we've extracted like our images. The next thing you want to do is you want to extract faces. So you've got data source face set extract. Now this one does it automatically, and then there's one that does it manually. So if you want to do it automatically, it depends on what kind of video you're working with. So if it's a bunch of action sequences and so forth, that can be pretty complicated because it takes, you know, they're jumping around. There's a lot of motion blur. Maybe objects getting in front of their face, that can screw it up. So like, let's say there's swords. Like that one I did a while back when I did, whatchamacallit, with Mel Gibson, Braveheart. And he's like, there's that scene where he's giving the speech in front of all those people, and there's like flags going in front of his face and spears and all this bullshit. And it's like, yeah, that's, you know, going to make it, it's going to have a hard time detecting the face if there's shit in front of it. That makes perfect sense. So it's sometimes easier, although much longer process if you do it manually. And you know what I really need to do is I really should have been better prepared before I started doing this video. I'm kind of a jackwagon about that sort of thing. I was going to say what I could do is maybe try to do like a demo folder or something where I could just show you guys how all these things work without it potentially damaging a freaking model that I'm actually working on. But whatever. Let's see if it'll let me do this. Well, basically what it does is if you do it, like I say, if you do it automatically, it pops up with a little batch window, and it will just ask you what kind of portion of the face you want it to extract. I always say whole face for what I'm doing. So again, if you want to do this another way, you can play with settings and try to figure that out. But I do whole face. You can set what resolution you want it to be at. So you can do 512 by 512, 1048 by 1048, or 1024 by 1024, or 2048 by 2048. The higher you go with quality, you know, the better it's going to look. But then it gets harder and harder to work with. Like when you try to modify things later on, it gets really bogged down. It'll, I don't know. I think 1024 is a pretty good one to use. Like I tend to try to use 2048 because I'm trying to go for real good quality. But 1024 by 1024 seems like it doesn't bog the system down too bad and still retains pretty good quality. So that's probably a good setting to choose. If you go with manual, it'll pop up a window, and basically every frame of video it'll show you, and you can move this little box around and decide if you want to select a face or not, and then you click on it and it'll put like a mask around the face, and you can say yes, I want to select that face or not want to, and go frame by frame by frame. I did one here, Arnold. Yeah, this one didn't turn out good, so I'll screw with this one. I'm not going to keep this one anyway, so let's just see if we can go back and use this. So let's say I want to continue with extraction. What do you mean? Error in fetching the last index. Well, that's helpful. I don't know what that means. Data source face set extract. Let's try it again. Maybe I didn't keep that file in there. I did. I'm sorry, I'm seeming to be having to have a little problem here. I don't know why it's... I'm saying yes. Error in fetching the last index. Extraction cannot be continued. I've never had that problem. It figures it would do that right in the middle of making an effing video about it, wouldn't it? Let's just try... Fetching the last index. What the fuck? Alright, well, we'll let it run here a second. This can take a minute, but we'll let it run through that. It's just going to redo this. Again, I was trying to do Let's see. I'm trying to do like a golem on Yoda. And so I tried this one to screw around with seeing if Arnold could be imported onto Yoda. It didn't work very well. Even though that model is pretty well trained, it looked really quite bad. So give me a second, I'm talking too much. Been letting my beard grow out. Getting scraggly. Turned out I have gray hairs after all. I didn't realize I had so many. I didn't let it grow that long in a while. So this will probably take it a hot minute to go through that. Hopefully it doesn't take it too long. But basically, I guess I'll try to explain. There's so many freaking steps in this shit. Hopefully this is, yeah, people are leaving. They're getting tired of waiting for me to go through it. Sorry, guys. I'm not organized enough for this shit. Like, I know how to do it, but I'm not organized enough to present it well to other people, I guess. Whatever, this will finish here in a second, and I'll try to explain it. So it's putting all those Golem source images in here. Oddly, it seems to have kept some of the Arnold images in there. I'll just get those out of there. Yeah, that's taking a hot minute. I think there's about 4,000 frames in there, so it's getting close. If this still doesn't work after this, as far as letting me show you guys how to do the manual extraction, then I don't know what to tell you why it's not working. It should be. Jeez. See, I've got my CPU set to 12 cores right now. See, like I say, sometimes it's better to have higher IPC, and with the Threadripper you can set it to run at half cores but they run faster, or all the cores but they run slower. And so this would be one of those times where it would be better if I had more cores enabled. I got a new monitor coming here soon that I'll show you guys here. It's supposed to have come. It was supposed to come Friday, and now they're saying that it might not be here until Monday. So that kind of sucks, but it'll be nice. Okay, so that's done extracting. Now let's see if it'll let me do this. Okay, I don't know what why this is doing this shit. This is stupid. There's no reason for it to do that. Okay, well, it won't let me extract faces even though it should, so I apologize in advance. I've never had that problem before, and of course it's only doing it because I'm showing a video. So, try to explain basically what it does. Let's see if I can do this a different way. Well, see, that's not going to work either. I'm trying to find some way I can show you guys the that window I'm talking about. I'll delete a few of these, and then I can use there's a different option. So like if you were trying to debug like bad outputs from your mask, there's this one where you can rerun it. Let's see if it'll let me. So here I was going to set that. This is basically the same window I was talking about. It's just a different batch file. So let's see if it'll let me do this, so I can at least show you what that looks like. All right, that's working. But basically, this is going to let me fix anything I thought might have not come out well. So I deleted 35 images. It's going to let me try to re-extract manually 35 of them. It's probably not going to be able to find them, and actually maybe I could have found a better example because this is freaking Yoda, and Yoda has a hard time telling what the hell Yoda is. But okay, so like here's the window that I'm talking about, and this little box is what you move around here, and you can resize it with your mouse wheel, and you try to basically see. Okay, so it recognizes facial features on him, but like the eyes and the nose, like the eyes are lining up correctly, you can see, but the nose is a little bit low, the mouth is below his freaking chin, and his it's putting the jawline where it's perceiving it should be because it's normally used to using human faces, not CGI characters. So the solution to that, instead, if you can't get it to work, and like you can play around with it, and sometimes it'll eventually get it right, even though it might take a while. You can screw around the box size, you can zoom in on it real good, and see if you can get it to accept it. But if it won't, you right-click, and you zoom out a little bit, and you can kind of just manually align it yourself, and then you left click, and it basically has now put that face in a box. It doesn't know what that is, other than it's just basically taking a snapshot of that face for you. And then you can see the controls up here to navigate this. You basically hit the period key and it will move to the next frame, or you hit the comma key and it will go back to the previous frame if you want to kind of screw around with it. So for these, I would just keep doing all this because I can't get it to properly recognize Yoda, or Baby Yoda especially. And again, I don't even know how well this is going to turn out when I try to put Gollum on it. Using people are pretty reliable, but so far these CGI characters are kind of hit or miss. That's kind of where I'm going with it. I want to try to start doing deepfakes of like video game footage. I don't think anybody's doing that. That'd be kind of interesting to have. Like there was that game that came out here recently, like Predator Hunting Ground, you know, that's actually supposed to have Arnold in it. I thought it'd be funny to take gaming footage of that and then deepfake real Arnold onto video game Arnold and see how that would come out. So that'd be fun. But anyways, you go through these, you know, this will take a minute. I'm just going to hit Q now and skip the rest of it because I'm not really using this anyway. But then it'll process that out, and it'll say, you know, out of the images found, we found 10 faces because I bothered with selecting 10 of them. I'll go back in here. I'll look at my... This is destination. Yeah, cause, I mean, I was trying to work on source, but that one didn't work. So then you go into your line folder, and you'll find... See, I've got Baby Yoda for each one of those ones that I did. And then later on there's old Yoda, because I'm trying to basically make like a transition from his youth into his old age, and he's going to try to fight Count Dooku, but it's going to be Gollum doing it instead of Yoda. That's the joke. Or that's the character anyway. Okay, so that's how you basically manually select faces. The longer the video and the more people that are in it, the more it's going to find, and the longer it will take it to process. So bear that in mind. You do the same steps for the destination one. So like I say, we just did a destination video, but basically you do the same steps with source as you do with destination, in that you have, like I say, I keep on the wrong folder, sorry. You know, you have your source video, you have your destination video. You know, you have to extract out the images for each, you have to extract out the faces for each, and then you know, like if any of them come out bad or whatever, you can go back through and do what I just did, which is manually manually try to find the face in it instead if it wasn't working well. Like I said, these ones are the ones that came out for Gollum. They're pretty good quality. That's from The Hobbit when he's having an argument with, you know, the riddles with Bilbo scene. And then I have some from later on. I don't remember which movie this one was from off the top of my head. So they're crossing like the marsh and like you know, when Frodo's got like the necklace around him and they're dragging him around. He's trying to show them how to get into Mordor without getting detected. So there's different scenes. You know, Gollum isn't a person and neither is Yoda. So like their facial shapes are not great, but they're actually kind of similar. So that's another thing you have to sort of consider is combining like with like. So again, when I tried to put Arnold Schwarzenegger onto Yoda, it didn't work well. Even though that model is pretty good and has worked really well on other things, you got to figure their skin tones are totally different. Yoda's green and bumpy and weird, you know, his forehead is not human. So it's just, it doesn't blend real well, etc. So you kind of try to use at least fairly comparable characters. So that's another thing to consider. So once you've done your, your extraction for both your source and your destination, and I would suggest, like for your source character, you want a bunch of you want him looking up, you want him looking down, you want him looking left, you want him looking right. He needs to be talking, he or she, I guess, whatever. Your source character needs to be, talking, blinking, fairly good light conditions so you can get all the details of the face. We found recently, like I'm trying to help a buddy of mine deepfake himself into another video, and he's got a lot of facial hair. And it seems like it's taking it quite a while to adapt that facial hair. Like the destination character, like it actually looks quite a bit like him already, but the facial hair, it just looks kind of like it's sort of spray painted on or something like that, and it's not real clear, and depending on what way he turns his face, it kind of comes and goes. It's sort of weird. So facial hair is sort of hard to work with, at least on when using it from the source character. On the destination character, you can do what I call remming it out. I'll show you guys how to do that here in a second using what's called the XSEG editor, and you can basically tell it things that you want it to ignore, if that makes sense. And actually, again, so since we've done this, we've got our faces extracted. I'll go to a different one here where I've got Agent Smith again, and I can show you guys how the X editor works, because some of this is pretty convoluted, and it's easier if I show you some good demonstrations of this. So xseg, so like if I wanted to edit the destination video, there's a data_dst mask edit for xseg, and if you want to do source, there's one for that as well. So in this case, this is Agent Smith. I was doing my destination video editing, so we'll load that up. It's a nice graphical user interface this guy's provided. This will take it a minute to load. Again, this, depending on the resolution of the faces that you've pulled, if they're 2048 by 2048, this program kind of chugs, because it's like, again, it's just got to load everything up into memory, versus if they're like, again, 1024 or less, it's pretty fast, at least on this system. I'd be curious to see how people like with higher end Intel systems, like an X299 platform, like if they've had better luck with this or worse, or if it's, you know, been worth their time. Okay, so this is the xseg editor. You've got two different selections you can make here that really matter as far as I can tell, and then you can hotkey things like you can in a lot of like Control Z does, you know, goes back a step. But basically, I'll find one here that isn't already edited out, and you can see it says I've labeled 55 of them. So of the, you know, however many faces that there were for Agent Smith in this video, I made, you know, edits to 55 of them, and you can see it did a pretty good job actually of overlaying how that's going to look, and it's ignoring the glasses. And so, because again, we don't want it to train the glasses as part of the face, because then it's like it'll get smeared and look weird in the final result. We want Arnold to come into this, but the glasses to not be part of what it trains. Otherwise, like, it'll kind of merge those in the output, and it doesn't look right. So we'll start with one here that's kind of clean or whatever, but I'll show you guys kind of how to do it. So he's looking to the right. See if it would stop. Like I say, it kind of chugs at this resolution. But I've got the basic function selected, and this is like, you see it even shows in here, poly include mode, poly exclude mode, and this is what I call rumming it out. Just like basically like when you're writing code, you want it to ignore something. So we want to include the face. So I'm going to go ahead and trace around his face manually with my mouse. I don't know if this would be easier to do with like a digital pen or something, but I don't know, it's not that hard to do it this way. Higher refresh screen can make it a little bit smoother. This one I'm using is only 60 right now, so it kind of goofed up there. Try to do a better job. But like now for this, the glasses are in the way, so I'm just going to have to kind of guess where I think his eye and the face actually goes. So I'll start there, and then I'll kind of go around here and go up around his freaking head. This has already come out really good. Like, I've already got a demo version of this. This first portion of this video, the part where he's trying to convert the what's her face, the Oracle, seems like that's struggling. There's a lot there, and like I say, it's close to the screen, etc. So now I've traced out the face, but the glasses, like I say, we don't want them to become part of the training. We want them to be ignored because they're basically an obstacle in front of the face. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it to rim out the glasses. Okay. Alright, so, I mean, you don't got to be like ultra precise with it, you know, be pretty close to it. It seems like it does a pretty good job of figuring it out itself. And you don't have to do every frame of video. Like I said, I only did 55. I think this is maybe, like, it's going to count that as 56, yeah. So you don't have to do every one. You can get away with doing like one in every, however many you feel like it's doing a good job or not. But like I said, maybe I do like one in every like 20 or 30 or 40 or something like that. And then I'll just skip to the next part and see where, like, once it gets to the point where it's like a totally different segment of the video or something, or like his facial position has changed enough. Like here, this is all pretty much the same thing. But if he turns to look at the camera or something, it's going to get, maybe it won't be able to figure that out. So I'll trace another one of those, I'll trace another one, etc. So here he's going to jab the other guy, but I don't need to worry about that. So it just skips here. So let's go back here a little bit. So you see the first one, I usually, when it changes from one to the next, I typically will trace the next one just to make sure that it, you know, that it is able to continue to find it. This actually probably seems like I could have done a better job here. Sometimes I do this stuff when I've been drinking. So let's correct ourselves there a little bit. That's probably a little bit nicer. I don't know why I didn't do that in the first place. Okay, so that's a little bit better. Got the glasses better traced. So, you know, whatever, you get the idea. And then there's going to be, so here is after he's kind of, I probably should do some more of these actually. This isn't, here's, okay, so here's a demo, a good way I'm going to demo for you guys how you can kind of make it look like the face is morphing. And that's what my favorite thing to do right now is kind of morph faces. I've got one I'm doing for American Psycho. I'm not going to show it to you because I don't want to spoil it, but it's really cool. One of the effects that I've been able to achieve with that. But what I'll do here is I'm going to go ahead and trace around the face again. And he's got that, you know, Agent Smith black goo stuff on him, whatever you want to call that. I'm going to go ahead and just kind of estimate where the face ends there. And don't worry about like the black lines at the top and stuff like that. As long as you don't include them in what you traced here, it won't be a problem for you. So first of all, like the top of the frame is what I'm getting at, like this. This is where it aligned the face. It tries to keep the faces straight in that box, and so it aligned the face, and then this is like where it got cut off at the top of the frame of the video. Like I said, that won't be a problem for it. So we've done that. I'm going to go ahead and trace the glasses again. And actually, I can just pretty much start doing what I was talking about. So I'm going to run out all of this goo shit on his face, which this can get sort of tedious, but do you want it to look cool or don't you? So I've done this on hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of frames. Like there's a fight where I'm doing, like, again, the Golem. I don't think I really need to actually do this part, but I just include it anyway, because if it turns, like, it learns that the glasses need to not be part of this. So there's a scene, like, again, where Yoda is fighting Count Dooku, and like they're throwing force lightning and shit around, and so I've rummed out the lightning, so like when the lightning goes past his face, it knows that the lightning is not part of his face. If that makes sense. I guess I'm boring people, they're leaving. That's okay. This is tedious, I understand. It's more fun to see the result. So I'm going to go ahead and trace around all this crap. Almost there. Lots of clicking. Very exciting. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and do that. Alright, I know that looks like that took a long time. Ultra exciting, I know. Try to tighten it up a little bit. But basically when I'm done, it's like Arnold's face will be here, and as this disappears, like it kind of goes into his eyes. Like we'll see here in a second. Like as it shrinks, it goes into his eyes under the glasses. But as it goes away, Arnold's face will be left, and we'll have, you know, Agent Smith will be gone, or well, the guy, whatever the agent was, the other guy, like the guy he converted, that other agent, will be gone, and it'll just be Arnold behind it instead. So, anyways, actually that one's not so great. Maybe I'll go ahead and I'll trace that one out. So this is something else you'll find. After you train this, what they call the XSEG mask, there's a batch file in here I'll show you guys here real quick. Excuse me. The XSEG train. So like once you've traced all these out really good to the point where you're kind of happy, you think you've done enough segments or whatever, and you've rummed out glasses or anything that are obstructing your faces, you will train that model a while. Like a couple 100,000 iterations would be really good. I find that anything beyond, it just depends. Like you can look at it and see how sharp it's getting and make a judgment call. Like 50,000 is probably okay. It just depends on how good of a job it's doing. And if all the faces are really clear and they're all kind of at a good resolution and they're all sort of just doing the same thing the whole time, like the one video my buddy wanted me to do, there's just a guy talking on the phone damn near the whole video. It doesn't have much trouble with that because he's not moving around, it's not low res, it's not blurry, there's no facial obstructions, other than he's got a phone up to his face, so like there's this part where I've got to run out the phone in his hand, but that's it. But, you know, this is kind of blurry. Like again, if I shut that off, you can see it's blurry, he's moving, not excellent quality, and so it did okay, but like you can see it kind of bled off of the nose here. It can't differentiate his nose from the background. So I'm going to go ahead and tell it definitively what I think his face should look like, roughly. So it's kind of pointy. And again, that's because it's just a fast frame of video there, and it kind of looks like ass. Now, when you're trying to figure out like what your source material should be, you don't want, like, this would not be a good frame for a source frame. Like, this is the destination video, so we got to work with what we got. But for source, you want super clean, you know, no motion blur, high res, good quality stuff, you know, good lighting, etc. You don't want something like this. Like, if this ended up in your alignment folder for your source, I would just delete it out. I've gone through and curated about 10,000 images to get rid of crappy ones because of stuff like this. Because they'll just make your output look bad. Like, you won't, it'll look like this. Like, it doesn't know what the hell it's using, so it does the best it can, but if you don't give it good quality, you know, what's the old saying, like, bad input equals a bad output, I guess. So this is all pretty blurry anyway. It's kind of hard to tell what we're looking at, but so we're just going to give it a generalized idea there. And this one's already been pretty well done. So I'm pretty happy with, let's say I'm happy with my my destination masks and so forth. Like, I got a bunch of these in here. It'll probably start freezing up if I keep this up. So if you refine it too hard again at this resolution, like, it'll start to chug. So I'll kill that one, but you get the idea there. So you've done that for your destination. You do it also for your source material to make sure that those faces are super well defined. And then you say you want to do your XSEG editor training. So I'll tell it again, you hit 0 to train whatever your primary GPU is. So we're going to go ahead and let it hopefully do this, and no, it probably won't do that. Alright, it's going to start training here in a second. It has to go through and load up all the images into memory, so it'll probably take a minute to do that. And this again is highly dependent on, like, again, are those 2048 by 2048? They'll take longer. If the little 512s, they go really quite fast. So it's just one of them daily do's. You have to wait. Holy crap, it's taken a while. Sorry. All this, that's all this is a waiting game. Like there's intermittent parts where you play with it and you have fun, you know, like tracing it out or trying to make it look good, or when it's done it's fun, but it's like this part of it is ridiculously long-winded. Plus I'm trying to stream while I do this, and I have a feeling that's probably sucking up some system resources. It's probably slowing me down. I guess while we're waiting, like, how many of you guys tried to get an AMD card, and how'd that work out for you? That cracks me up, man. Like, we were waiting for frickin', you know, for them to be like the savior because NVIDIA couldn't do a fucking product launch. Pardon my language, but my God, what a shit show. Like, I had my phone up the whole frickin' day, whatever the hell it was here a week ago, when, you know, I was up on vacation and they were supposed to be launching the big Navi cards. And I'm watching Best Buy the whole time. This is certainly taking its sweet time. Sometimes this will get stuck for a while, and it won't load at all. So hopefully it doesn't have that problem. Again, the software isn't ultra. Okay, it's working. I was gonna say it's a little buggy because, again, I just sort of cobbled it together, and the version that's, you know, with Ampere are not ultra great yet. They're waiting for like a release candidate of that TensorFlow software, and then supposedly he's going to put out like a new official build that should work better. So we have to work with what we got, or you can use older cards. But going back to AMD, yeah, like I had my phone out all day, and you know, sitting there refreshing the page. Surely they'll be available anytime, and they were never even on the Best Buy set. They're listed on there as coming soon. They're still on there as coming soon right now. They never even got any, and I guess Micro Center got like 10 cards per store or something stupid like that. And then on Newegg, supposedly they sold out in like half a second or something stupid like that. I'm not real hopeful about being able to pick up an RX 6900 XT. I wanted to, but and they're not out until December 8th, so that'll be another, you know, week and a half or whatever. But they're basically unaffordable, unfortunately. So all right, so this is finally loading up. Okay, so this is, and I've trained the living shit out of this one, but it can still get some more benefit out of it. So this is like this window will kind of show a mixture of both Arnold and Smith. And I know it looks corny, like it's warping and so forth, but this is like, it's trying to mold them around as many different configurations as possible, I guess. But you can look at just Arnold, and you can see here, so this is, you know, the source character. This is how well defined the mask is going to be, and this is how well it's defined around Arnold himself. Like some of these are from Kindergarten Cop. This one was from Terminator 2, and I can hit the P key to advance it. Like again, Kindergarten Cop, Terminator 2. I think this is from Jingle All the Way. Yeah, see Jingle all the way right there. More of that kind of stuff. And like I said, I've tried to go through and really get good quality footage of both, or of Arnold. Which, I mean, there's lots of movies that he's in. He's a pretty easy guy to find pictures of. It's sometimes more difficult to do obscure characters. And again, with Gollum, it's like the lighting is bad and everything. He's always in a cave or some shit, and it's like, or he's got a fish in his mouth or whatever the hell. So, not so easy to get Gollum. And then with Yoda, it's like, he ain't human, neither one, he or Gollum, but this with Gollum I found better quality footage. But anyways, so you get the idea. You can let this train and train and train, and as you go, so like here, there's like a little blur in there or whatever the heck. I probably should try to go find this. But, I mean, it's one, you gotta remember, like, each one of these is literally one frame out of however many thousands or, frames of video. It's not gonna matter that much, but if you consistently see a bunch of these where they're jacked